Hey guys, Dennis here with Revog Games, and this is my first impressions review of Bonelab, which is the semi-sequel to Boneworks, which came out in 2019 from developer Stress Level Zero. While Boneworks was a PC VR title only, Bonelab is now available for both PC VR and the Quest 2. At its core, Bonelab features the same innovative gameplay engine that Boneworks had, and there's definitely fun to be had, but I'm not sure that it's for me, and I'm going to discuss why. Like I mentioned, the gameplay is similar to the original Boneworks, featuring the game engine physics that you can kind of grab enemies, you can punch them, you can toss them around, you can hit them with axes, and you can hold their head while you're shooting them, and all of that is very fun. However, there are some drawbacks to this. For example, when you have a gun and you're walking around and you go through a doorway, especially if you have a larger gun, but it has happened when I had smaller guns, you kind of get blocked. The guns get caught as you move through certain doorways. The hand orientation itself seems a bit off. It doesn't feel quite exactly where your hand is. Another feature of the gameplay that I know some people do like is the climbing and the parkour aspect, where you're jumping around or climbing up stuff. For me, I personally found that very frustrating. I found like not being able to climb on the ledges very well. It didn't feel natural to me. And also with the jumping and falling, I actually got a little nauseous doing that. Now, speaking of nausea, there's very little comfort settings in this version. You kind of either have to be able to stomach playing this in locomotion or not, because there's no teleporting in there, there's no vignetting, and I'm a person who's played hundreds of hours of VR, mostly in locomotion, and I've been pretty fine. But in Bonelab, I play about 30 minutes or so. That's kind of all I can take before I have to take off the headset. Now, speaking of PC versus Quest, I played them on both. I mainly played on the PC version, but the Quest version holds up pretty well. The graphics, aren't too different. Obviously, with the PC, you get better lighting effects. The models are a little more detailed, but it's not a far stretch. I did encounter very long loading times on the PC version. I'm not sure why, where the Quest one kind of loaded up much faster. So my overall thoughts is that, look, I'm not finished with the game yet. I've played it about a couple hours or so. I'm going to try and play a little more. I do have to play this in these kind of 30-minute segments so I don't get too nauseous. I know there's a lot of mod support. There's avatar support. The reason why I'm not sure if this game is for me is I feel like this game is for the Minecraft generation, which is where people are kind of having fun creating their own kind of worlds, or in this case you're not really creating your own world, but you can with the mods, also with the avatars, and also like the way that you approach everything in terms of the game's physics and fighting and solving puzzles and everything. But for me, I'm looking for something that is kind of guiding you more. Like, I'm kind of a person who likes to have a narrative. There is a narrative here, but it's very thin. There are puzzles here, but I like to have puzzles that aren't there just to be there. I like to have kind of a story, motivating factor, a narrative that kind of pushes me forward, that makes me want to solve the puzzles and wants me to progress through the game. And this one is actually more towards just having it and then you solving it with actually not much guidance. There isn't a lot of tips, and I know some people love that stuff, and some people love creating their own worlds, but just at this point in my kind of game playing stage in life, I like to either play something that someone has kind of created and has a certain path. I do like sandbox games. I do like open world games where you kind of walk around and do stuff, but I kind of like to have a story and narrative behind it, pushing you towards stuff. And this one, the Bonelab itself, level 2, you see there's kind of a lot of different things that you can do. There's like time trials, there's parkour, there's sandboxes, and you kind of compete on high scores. But when I do one, I'm not really huge into competitive gameplay, but when I do like to do it online with other players. There's something about playing against live other people versus just kind of competing against someone else's high score, trying to do it faster, do it longer, etc., etc. That's not exactly my cup of tea. I want to either play with other people, or you're going to give me like a story that's going to drive me forward, and it doesn't seem like this has it. This is definitely for a certain type of gamer that likes to have all that kind of freedom and the option to do this or that, or to create this and create their own kind of game in a sense. But for me, there's a lot of untapped potential. I would love to see this game more polished and more featured in a narrative. Maybe that's not what the developers want to do, and there's people that absolutely love this game. So I'm gonna give it some more time, but as of right now, I'm not sure if it's for me. So I know a lot of people have been playing this game and have been loving it. What did you guys think? Did you play this game and love it? Or you have any issues with the comfort settings, or are you okay? Because I just feel like I've played a lot of VR, and this is one of the few games, and I know it's not because they haven't polished up the frame rate. It's just the natural way of the way the game plays with the jumping, the falling. It just doesn't, I guess, maybe sit well with me physically, but maybe it doesn't bother other people. So let me know your thoughts below. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. We also have a weekly games podcast that you can either see on this channel or on Spotify or Anchor.fm. That's our Revog Games podcast that I do with Josh. You can see us there. You can follow me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram Dennis.tzng. We also have a Twitter channel at Revog or at Revog Games. You can check that out. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.